Hey, you're real now. Can I give you 2 for 1? Okay, moving on. It's been a long day. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order at 7:02. Could you take the roll call, please?
Brian Boyle.
I know I saw him.
He excused, he came to make sure we had a quorum.
Oh, okay. Kim Farah.
Here.
Stephen Finnegan. Amy Gentile. Barbara Kishka. Katie Knudsen. Sheila Lowe's. Sean O'Neill. Kristen Savage.
Okay, if you all rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. How could you not see that? Thank you. I don't know. I'm just drove up from Boston because it's usually back there. Okay. Nice vice chair quits heckling me. Moving to the approval of the minutes from January 6th. Sean makes a motion. Is there a second? Katie seconds. All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? Abstaining? 2. 402. Moving on to the minutes of January 10th. A motion to accept the minutes. Sean makes a motion. Katie seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? All in favor? 1, 3. Opposed? Abstaining? 3. Does that pass? Amy, Sean, and Sheila abstained. Okay, it's a pass, okay. All right, moving on. Delegates and individuals. Coral Hampy from Danville.
Good evening, Coral Hampy, Danville, TTA President, and I show up for students. We continue to be disappointed that the TTA was not able to settle a contract with the school board. At the beginning of the special meeting held last Monday, School Board Chair Kim Farah stated they reached out to their legal counsel to talk to unions that have not yet settled contracts to see what could be done. I believe that's what was correct. Their counsel seemed to work well with the administrative assistants and skilled workers as they ratified a contract at that Monday meeting. However, Board counsel did not write to our lawyer until 12:17 p.m. on Sunday afternoon with the message, quote, "I assume that since I haven't heard from you, that we are still in the same place with Timberlane," end quote. This was not an invitation to reopen negotiations, therefore nothing happened. However, let's move on to the good stuff. Let's talk about the kids. That's what we're here for. In 7th grade Spanish, students are learning how to describe themselves, and they drew and colored in penguins by adjectives. So the head was one color if they were tall, it was another color if they were short. In 7th grade science, they are doing a strawberry DNA lab, learning about genetics and heredity. They are doing a hands-on lab where they extracted DNA of strawberries and compared it to models in class. In 6th grade language arts, they learned how to write a research paper by writing a research paper about A Long Walk to Water, a novel they are reading in class about one of the lost boys. In 7th grade math, they are ending a unit on computing with rational numbers. Their final project will be paper chains showing their understanding of the skills. All grades are working in the iReady language arts and math programs. Those are being utilized, and students are completing mid-year diagnostic tests. The middle school play, Frozen, will be on Saturday, January 29th. Also at the middle school, they are offering after-school support help for students who have been on long-term absences via Zoom. And one more. In elementary tech, they are working on computational thinking as they learn how computers use rules, processes, and procedures to accomplish tasks. As I said, we're here for the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, our student representative, Kaylee.
Their first initiative at the last Monday morning meeting on January 10th. This new group, made up of 4th and 5th grade student leaders, created a slideshow demonstrating good hallway behavior and the North Star way to walk down the hallway. The Lego Club is back and started last week. The special Lego program is a non-competitive, hands-on STEM program. A team of 6 children are exploring real-world themes and designing new models of their own while they learn basic engineering and programming skills. A new group of students will start after vacation. Thanks to the Sandown Ski Club, a group of 28 students are participating in an after-school skiing program this year. Students are skiing at Pat's Peak 5 Friday afternoons in January and February. Students were picked up at 2:30 p.m. and were able to go for the first time last Friday. Atkinson Academy kindergarten students are building their classroom castles in preparation for the end of their fairy tale unit. First grade teachers have placed students into groups to look at different fairy tales to see and discover what made them real or not real. They were very excited to use sticky notes, and Miss Gallagher was very kind to share some photos if anyone's interested. Second grade classrooms are fostering the school and community relationship by inviting families and community members to be mystery readers once a week via Zoom. Students have discussions about genre and author's purpose. Third grade students just completed a STEAM project learning about Hurricane Katrina and building dams. As a part of the kindness movement, 4th grade will begin sewing mittens to donate to nursing homes to keep our community members' hands warm. They will warm the hearts of frontline workers by writing friendly letters. Additionally, 4th grade kicked off their Wax Museum unit by participating in a book tasting to learn about influential historical figures. Lastly, students in 5th grade kicked off their historical fiction unit with a book tasting as well. Thanks to their wonderful librarian, Jennifer Toth, students sat down restaurant style and tried different historical fiction books to learn which one was right for them. Students will be culminating their learning by creating a cereal box that depicts literary features of their book. Additionally, students are learning how to take 2-column notes on the causes of the American Revolution to build background knowledge to support reading historical fiction. Additionally, district elementary school students participated in their first in-person concert in over 2 years, and they did a fabulous job. The High School Spanish Honor Society is currently working with groups of Pollard students to develop better understandings of language and Spanish cultures. The French Honor Society has also continued this work. Pollard appreciates high school volunteers and would welcome other groups from the high school that want to share their skills and knowledge as well. Similarly to the Academy, Pollard had their first concert as well. Pollard musicians would like to thank Miss Healy, Mr. Manila, and Miss Pennard in leading them in its successful night of strings, band, and chorus performances. Pollard students are recognizing other Pollard students with swim tickets. These tickets are used to recognize that students that stay safe, work it out, and are independent leaders that make good choices. With the arrival of winter, Danville Elementary is happy to report the return of Ski Club at their school as well. 30 students are enrolled in this program, and it is being offered by the Danville PTA. Additionally, Danville would like to say thank you to the Wellness Committee for promoting healthy eating by encouraging students to bring fruits and vegetables to school for snacks each week. Danville Elementary staff have been impressed by how many students participate each week. At the middle school, the Lego robotics team did a great job at the Londonderry and state competition. At the Londonderry competition, they presented their innovation project. They came up with an idea to power trains using wind energy. This innovation project helped them move on to the state competition. At states, they improved on their innovation project and coding of their robot. They won second place for robot design, and Carol Liss won a Coach Mentor Award. She was one of 2 mentors in the whole competition to win this award. Students improved teamwork from the first competition to second and were amazing at cheering each other on. Students also created a town map made of different geometric figures. They demonstrated their understanding of parallel and perpendicular lines and angles. This project can be adapted to higher level geometry courses and high school classes. Middle school kids turned this into a Kids' Choice Award by using a Google form to vote for their favorite entries. Their work and themes were inspiring. At Monday's faculty meeting, TRMS started a new initiative of awarding 5 respectful awards to deserving staff members who have helped add the positive and professional environment that exists within the school and community. Students, parents, and guardians, as well as staff, nominated 28 deserving staff members for the award. 5 recipients were drawn and presented with the award. TRMS would like to thank everyone that submitted a staff member for the award, and they look forward to continuing this tradition at all future faculty meetings. The PTSA also provided pizza for the staff meeting, which was equally appreciated, but the positive thoughts and comments that were shared were the reasons that teachers do what they do. TRMS student athletes currently competing in basketball, spirit, and wrestling. The athletes and coaches are doing a tremendous job improving their skills through practices and games in spite of daily COVID-related challenges, scheduling, and busing changes as well. TRMS staff members are very proud of how they represent TRMS in the district during their games and in the classroom. Lastly, the high school winter sports season is well underway. The athletic department is happy to report that the track team has been able to go to some modified meets this season. This has been an issue since the traditional venues have not allowed high schools to use their facilities due to COVID restrictions. Mr. Fantasia and the rest of the athletic department would like to say thank you to the coaches and team members for their efforts. All of the high school teams are competing well and working hard. If more information is desired, I would like to encourage the school board and community to check out the athletic website for upcoming games and live-streamed events. The Timberland players are working hard on their next production, Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, while several members of the cast are likewise helping out with the middle school musical Frozen Jr., which happens next weekend. The Milkmen had a show last week, and they raised money for National Honor Society, which will go towards scholarships and in-school initiatives. The high school has had midterm and final exams all week this week, which will be finishing up tomorrow. Semester 2 will officially begin on Monday, along with upcoming course selection for next year. The high school administration would also like to acknowledge the countless seniors being accepted into and committed to signing with colleges over the past few weeks. As always, a huge thank you to the many directors and administration that sent me these reports to be shared tonight, and as always, thank you to both the school board, district admin, and the community for the opportunity to speak on behalf of your student body tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sure, go ahead. You'll be on, just start talking.
Just start talking. I just want to say thank you. That was an awesome report, and it's nice to hear a report like that because we haven't heard one in a long time. No fault to you or the previous reps, but we used to have reports like that when I first started on this board, and then clearly, for reasons out of our control, we couldn't. So it's nice to see the community and the school going back to things. It's nice to hear that the kids are involved, these activities are happening, and all of this. So thank you for putting the time and effort into such a detailed report. So just want to say that.
Thank you. All right, moving on. The next item on the agenda is a budget transfer request. This is a request to move money from the 4,600 line to the 1,100 line. I did have one question on this. Are both these lines ADM lines or EPB lines? I know, well, 4,600 is a capital line. I'm just concerned about moving from one type of apportionment to another.
So the 4,600 line is where we put the 900,000 that we received in additional adequacy aid. It was just a placeholder for adequacy aid.
Oh, okay.
This is
Okay,
where
that's
we-
fine.
where
That's
we
fine.
place it as a
Okay,
placeholder, so
that's fine.
it
Okay.
doesn't mean that it
Okay.
was appropriated for capital, but it was just a placeholder.
Okay, so you just put that's the way you just put it into that account, so you'd have a placeholder for it. Okay, because normally we wouldn't want to do a transfer this way, but that makes sense because of the way that money came in.
Yeah, it's the 900,000.
Okay, thank you. So I think the easiest way to motion this would to, unless somebody wants to read out the lines, is just to approve the budget transfer request dated January 20th. Krista makes the motion, Sean seconds. All in favor? 6-0. Okay, great, thank you. Moving on. The next item on the agenda is the PAC positions, and this was put on the agenda, as you may recall. Last year, we moved Mr. Schweiss into an interim music director position, and we just wanted to speak about, to make sure that's working and to finalize that or remove that interim position. So I don't see anything in the packet, so Mr. Callen, do you want to speak to that?
So I've spoken to Mr. Schweiss and Mr. Constantino a bit, but we do have a meeting scheduled for Monday to go further into the details. So what I have learned is I thought this was a very simple thing as far as whether we just remove the interim titles and what happens moving forward. However, especially Mr. Schweiss was able to give me quite a bit of detail about some of the background and potential perspective that might be out there with respect to how the position, more specifically, the director of music with that combined PAC position might be considered if we do anything right away as far as the public's perception as to what the intention was originally with regard to the interim labels on their positions. By that I mean, is there any consideration in looking at a different structure if we change those titles from interim to just those positions?
Well, I don't think the board is opposed to a structural change if this one is not working, if there's some rationale provided for that. However, at this time, because the budget has already been brought forward, I don't think we would be looking at any additional staffing. If that's the case, it should have been brought forward before the finalization of the budget.
Correct. It's not looking at additional. It was perhaps that there's a belief that it would mean the elimination of a position.
I'm not going to speak for the board, but if there's something out there that makes sense, please bring it to us so that we can have a discussion and then move it forward.
Sure, okay. So further discussion, it might be more appropriate in non-public or something being brought forward in public.
I guess it depends what the discussion is. So if you want, we can move into a non-public later, if you have more tonight, or if not, we can move into a non-public next time, if you want to have a discussion. It's your call on that.
Okay, so, yeah, I mean, I'll throw out there, so currently, we have not filled the middle school band director position. That was Mr. Schweiss's position previously.
Okay.
My understanding, based on the conversations that I've had, was that might have been an expectation moving forward. And I know we did not cut it from the budget.
Wait, that we would fill that or eliminate that? I'm not sure.
That it would be, that perhaps there was some in the camp that say, well, we should eliminate it, where others say we would.
We haven't had that discussion
Okay.
at all.
Okay. So I just wanted to be sure that,
Yeah.
that was brought up before we do anything, and then if there are expectations out there based on what we do moving forward.
I think the board would be in agreement that we want a robust, spectacular music program, arts program moving forward. However, we want to do it as fiscally responsible as possible. So I don't think we've had a discussion about eliminating anything. Sheila?
To be honest, I asked for this to be put on the agenda. Because I want this settled before I leave. I want these positions to be permanently done, and I want this music department to be settled by the time I go. So, if you're having a meeting with Mr. C and Mr. Schweiss on Monday, I'm going to ask that we table this until the next meeting on February 3rd, I think we're meeting. Get your information together, get it in a nice little package.
Sure.
And, but I would like these positions tied up and done before I leave. And I want to make them permanent positions.
Great.
Well, I wouldn't say that you definitely want to make them permanent positions. We want to find out if they're working, if there are changes
working,
to the
if
job
they're not, but
descriptions
if
that
they are,
need to be made.
I don't want them to be interim, is what I'm
I
saying.
understand, but I don't just want to say that we're going to move them to non-interim if there's something that doesn't work and there's a different way that we should have structured it, that's all. I just don't want to give the impression that this is.
No, but I just want it settled out where the interim,
Not final either way.
What do we want? Is it working?
right.
Do they like the structure? Is there something different or status quo, or how do they want to move forward?
Right.
And then I'll come to a consensus on that.
Okay, so we'll put this on the agenda in 2
Next
weeks.
agenda, thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is SAU staffing. This is informational. Mr. Callan, did you want to talk about what our plans are here moving forward as far as SAU staffing?
Sure. Well, we will have several vacancies moving forward come July 1. We will be looking to replace an assistant principal at Pollard Elementary School. We are looking to fill we'll know better in March if our budget passes. We would anticipate that we would be looking at an anticipated assistant principal extended learning opportunities coordinator at the high school. We will be looking to replace Mr. Chulgin's position as Director of School Counseling. And we are still looking to fill our Student Services Coordinator. And we'll be advertising very soon for Assistant Superintendent position as well. And I don't know if we should wait for personnel for me to announce the last vacancy that we'll be looking to fill.
It's up to you. If we do it, we need to do it as an action item.
Okay.
Do it now.
Well, we'll go ahead and do the personnel piece later, and that will speak to that we will be looking to fill that vacancy as well. But at this point, we're continuing to assess the effectiveness of the structure that we have. We don't want to make too many changes immediately, that's for sure. And we'll make further decisions about how we might restructure some of the roles and responsibilities of various positions moving forward, starting in July.
Okay, so in terms of there's a key position that is now left vacant because you moved into the superintendent role. Are we going to start advertising for the assistant superintendent, because this is the time of year that we should be getting that on? So you'll be posting that position fairly soon?
Yes, very soon.
Okay, so that position will be moving forward. We're not moving anybody into that position. We're just going to leave it open until hopefully we hire July 1.
Correct.
Okay, so I think that's the big SAU position. Most of the rest of the ones I think are more, consider those Timberlane positions. Yes, yeah, okay, all right. So I just wanted to update on that if there were any questions. We're not looking at any restructuring in the SAU, but we are looking to almost immediately put out this assistant superintendent search. Okay, thank you. All right. The next item on the agenda is school board goals, and Kristen and I met with Mr. Kellen Tuesday. It's been a long week. To discuss, we meet before the school board meetings to make sure we're understanding what's coming before the public. So as part of that, we talked about the school board goals, and I wanted to bring them back to the board just to kind of see where we're at, because we're in January, and these are basically halfway through their year. And during that discussion, we discussed the fact that Mr. Callen should have superintendent goals. At this point, we'd be looking at maybe 6 months, a 6-month time frame. And there are a lot of goals here on the school board goals. Normally, the school board goals inform the superintendent of his goals. So I just kind of wanted to do just a brief recap of our goals. And I think it's easiest to just do it by section to kind of see where we're at. And I'm going to pick the easy sections first and go to the harder ones where I feel like we haven't done so much. So the budget, I feel like that has been addressed by the board. Facilities, you'll look, we have 5 goals under there. We talked about removing modular classrooms. We decided to hold off on that based on the fact that we may have building renovations going on. There's work on a preventative maintenance schedule. There's been a huge prioritization of projects with the 5-year EER contract, or the EER contract. They're working to develop a 5-year plan. Barbara did a lot of work on solar engineering for the buildings, and that's still in the works. So I feel like we've done a lot on those goals. Moving up to financial. This is, one goal was review the impact of COVID pandemic on the 2021 budget year, including encumbrances that had to be made by June 21. We've already done that. We've already evaluated the current budget and reallocated funds as necessary. Maria did do some work on cleaning up lines that should have been removed. The audit, I think, is complete. Are we on track to get that by February? Congratulations, that's a big, awesome. So financial, I feel like we've done a good job hitting those. If we move up to the page on academics administration, implement the organizational structure for the new SAU. That's been done. The board will continue to support SLT and instructional staff in pursuit of academic excellence. We are trying to do that by approving curricular changes, supporting recommendations, and supportive resources. Advance the work of the district focused on providing students with career pathways. We have not heard anything about this goal. It would be nice to hear if we are making any progress in there. The next was identify needs for pre-K through 12 resulting from remote learning. I did ask that that be put on the agenda as we move into the spring and possibly using some of the ESSER funds that are targeted for academic improvement to see what sort of programs we may be looking at this summer. Identify needs for pre-K through 12 STEAM opportunities. We did not do that prior to budget development. I assume it was built into the budget, but the board didn't talk about that. I guess that's, can't do anything about that now. Review data on preparedness for college. We would like to see some data here on that, so I would say 3, 4, and 6, we'd like to hear about that. I know we're working on job descriptions for all positions. The board doesn't really need to get into the nitty-gritty. Identify a comparison group of New Hampshire school districts to gauge students' academic achievement and academic growth patterns. You know, this has been a sore spot for the board since I started, is that we always seem to have a changing target here and a changing peer group. So it would be nice if we could set some metric here on which to evaluate the district with other demographic data coming in here. Support curricular work done K through 5. We have not heard much about the alignment of curriculum, though my understanding is that there was a lot of work done through K through 5, and it's fairly well aligned in the individual schools. And then identify opportunities and pathways for staff to receive professional development. I don't know if you can address that at some point. Advance the work within the district to organize and implement an evaluation system for administrators. Personally, I feel this is important. We have a lot of new principals, assistant principals, and we owe them to let them know how they're doing and what they can do to improve and to improve in our schools. So I think the board would like to hear how we progress on that. So out of those goals, I would think, and people correct me if I'm wrong, I would say 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 11 are something that we need to kind of prioritize moving, you know, if you want to take a look at those, as you think about short-term goals, because you've only got probably 6 months before the new contract cycle. And then the last part is culture and climate on the second page of our goals. Work with the superintendent to incorporate aspects of the strategic plan related to culture and climate in the schools. Talks about the no bullying initiative. I know you're working to try to get timely and clear communications. And support a consistent initiative for collegial feedback and inter-building collaboration through the district. I know you're just come on board here as superintendent, but it would be nice to try to bring the individuals, you know, schools, towns together. But I am very, from a personal point of view, I would like to hear about climate and culture in our schools and what we're doing to try to improve climate and culture.
It's unfortunately taken a back seat.
It has taken a back seat,
and it's time to move forward on that.
Absolutely.
it's time to move forward, and, you know, anecdotally, I'm hearing it from teachers and myself, seeing it, that there's a lot that needs to be addressed with students that were out for almost a year, some of them a year and a half. So I'd really like the board to have some idea of what's going to be done with culture and climate as we move forward.
Okay, Sean?
Sean?
Actually stress the importance of number 7 in regards to the job descriptions aspect of that. This board is well aware of what we have for job descriptions and the lacking of that. And I think it puts us at a very much of a disadvantage, not just as a board to make corrective actions when needed, but also to the individual that is in that position. They should know what is expected of them and being able to deliver on that and it's all well-defined. When it's in an ad hoc, this is where we get into predicaments that we're in.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so, and sorry, I just want to go back to culture and climate, and it's not just about students, it's about staff.
Right.
As an educator myself, I know I've approached burnout very much over the last year or so there's an understanding, and all staff, everybody's doing a lot more work with COVID, and my thanks to the bus drivers. I heard about the horrid situation this morning, what was not freezing then freezing, and so thanks for everybody who had some patience this morning. Chris? Anything? No. Okay. Just moving on.
No, your points about culture and climate, I know that's an integral part of the strategic plan, which I have here. I know part of this all will lead to the development of the new strategic plan as well, so. But with respect to, all of the items that you pointed out, what we really do is need to gather the right kind of data to present to the board, excuse me, with, I think, reports for many of these areas as an overview, and then with the plans for moving forward between now and the end of this year, and then looking into moving, developing new goals for next year, is my understanding. Yeah.
And what are the years on the strategic plan? When's the end date of that? Do you have?
I do, 2023. So it's 2018 through 2023.
So the strategic plan needs to be redone next year.
Right. I'm sure it will take
Yeah.
some time, so obviously we need to begin that sooner than later.
Right. I mean, normally with a strategic plan, I know COVID's kind of blown it up, but we, at least at my institution, we look at it midway through and assess, but that didn't happen, so I think it's important to try to get it started early, the next process, iteration of it.
Yes, and probably build those periods of measurement right into that strategic plan.
Right. Okay, great, thank you. Moving on to policy reviews. Amy, did you want to speak to these?
I can do that, sure. I think we have for second read tonight, policy ADB, drug-free workplace.
Okay.
I think that's the only one on.
That's the only one on the agenda, yes. Did policy meet today or not?
No.
So they meet the next meeting?
Yes.
All right. And we do have the updated policy list and priorities, so hopefully we're looking at that as we move forward, because we have quite a backlog of policies. Okay, so is there a motion to accept policy ADB as a second read? Krista makes a motion. Sean seconds. All in favor? 6-0. Okay.
On this, since we're on talking about policy, I would actually like to recommend to this board that we actually look at the committee assignments policy and the requirement that we have 2 board members on there to move forward with any kind of business. What I think that it does is it precludes us to have some flexibility and options in various committees that we could, that we oversight. This board, as we know, is the ultimate sayer in approving of these policies. So everything would come before this table and be voted on in a multiple fashions, as we just did right now for the second reading of the prior policy. I'm going to say this is my belief, and what I would like to do is to create some flexibility for this board, especially in our personnel policy. We have 2 members that are coming on off, seniors that are not going to be there. We have 1 person.
Point of order, we don't have a personnel policy.
Well, personnel, I mean, it's a personnel committee. I'm sorry, but it's a personnel committee, which is the board that negotiates all these CBAs, correct?
Yes, it's a subcommittee of the board.
Correct. And that has the requirements of 2 individual, I mean, that we have to have 2 members of a board, which we currently have 3 members on that, which is fine. But what I'd like to actually is, with the 2 members that are just coming on off, and we have 1, it plays right into strategic, hands for the TTA. What I think, and this is of course my own opinion, is that the reason why we're not moving forward with a CBA is because they looked at it and said, hey, we got 2 people that we know are coming on off. we don't need to put this forward. We're going to have a whole different committee. I've actually reached out to the two individuals that are currently on there, school board members, and just asked them if they would be interested in it being a representative of the board to continue the negotiations on the board's behalf. Both of them have expressed interest. And I've actually brought this as a conversation to you. Dr. Farron, you brought up some of the points that I'm making forward right now. And I'd like to actually move forward, that we actually explore this, to create options for this board to allow individuals that are on our behalf, just like a lawyer is on our behalf, negotiating on our behalf. We should have that flexibility as a board. And that's what I'd like to pursue, and ask the policy committee to look at this, to come back with a recommendation, and maybe enact moving forward with it on its merits.
Well, have you reviewed the policy that speaks to this? Because you're asking not for a change. Have you reviewed the policy that speaks to board committees?
I've seen it several times. Yes.
Have you reviewed it recently?
No, not recently. So what's your point that you're trying to make, Dr.?
My point is that there's a lot more than just looking at trying to change the personnel committee, and I would be against just having one board member on a committee. We've had this discussion before at the board, probably before you came on, because it was getting to be a little bit of a problem to get two board members. But as I see a lot of times when we sit here and we look at policies and we go through a first or second read, no one has any questions on it, which I don't fault them for, but I'm sure there were questions at the policy committee. So I'm just not in favor of just having one board member on these committees. And if we're going to look at committees, you need to look at all the subcommittees of the board, not just the personnel committee. And by the way, the personnel committee stipulates that the chair of the board needs to be on the personnel committee. Sheila.
I see pros and cons with both of this, and I'm going to tell you why. Excuse me. For committees such as safety, that could be handled by one school board member. It could be. And to back up in case that school board member can't make it. Wellness committee, that could be handled by one school board member. There are some of these committees that we do have that could be handled by one school board member. Do I think facilities should be handled by one school board member? No, I think it should be at least two.
Well, frankly, I don't think we should have a facilities committee.
Well,
So if we want to start looking at subcommittees of the board, that's one that needs to go away.
I'm just saying that some of them could be one school board member. The problem is you're losing members that were very intricate in these meetings. So, you know, Brian did a lot, and this is the problem you're going to have.
I understand that, but I intentionally put new board members onto committees where we had board members that would potentially not be there to maintain the continuity of the board membership on the committee.
Understood. However, the newer committee members don't have the back history as the older members do, obviously. I'm just putting it out there. But what I'm saying is safety, wellness. I mean, there are a few that just don't need two school board members. They don't.
Well, again, you'd have to rewrite the policy then, because the policy itself does not specify. The only policy it actually calls out, because I actually did read the policy after we had our conversation, Sean. The only policy, the only subcommittee that it spells out explicitly within that policy is the personnel committee. It doesn't specify the other one. So if you want to get down into that level of detail, I wouldn't be opposed to that. So, Sean, if you have some suggestions, I'd ask that you draft something and take it to the policy committee.
Well, I'd like to also understand the general view of this board, because you could go down this whole effort, and if the board's position is totally different, it gets flushed on out with a no. So I'd like to understand if philosophically this board supports something of that.
But I'm not even sure what it is you're proposing. What exactly are you proposing to change the policy?
The ability for this board to appoint representatives to act on the board's behalf in these respective committees.
Go ahead.
So, one of the things I first heard about this was the requirement of having 2 members because it can be difficult, and I've seen that, as Sheila said, with safety. We've had situations where we have to have so many people there, suddenly we can't get them there, and there was a question, can you even go forward with the meeting or not? So as far as reviewing the policy in that sense, I'm in favor of and looking at, and does it make sense with regard to all the committees that we have in doing that? Sean, I have, and it's not a problem towards the people that were on this, I have grave concerns of what you're saying of us appointing people and opening and changing a policy to allow us to appoint people to be our representatives at certain things unless they're professional in that area. I see no reason, I mean, we hire professionals, but the people of the district elect us to the school board to do this job, and I don't think it's right for us to then say, well, we're going to pick this person or that person for that reason. I think we're elected as school board members to perform these tasks. So I don't think it's right for us to then say, as school board members, we're going to choose other people that we want to come in and perform those tasks. I would have a problem with that as a policy change.
Okay. I'll go on the record as saying is that out of the 9 people that are on this board currently, and potentially the number of people that could be put on this board by the respective coming March ballots that are up for re-election, that the 2 top candidates would still be Brian and Sheila. And that is what we should be putting as our best candidates forward.
But I just don't think we have that
No,
right.
that's fine, you
I
can,
mean, that's all, it's nothing against Brian or Sheila or any, I just don't think we have that right to appoint outside individuals who are not elected and taken an oath of office and done certain things. We're putting them into confidential communications and other things, and they're not bound by the same.
they're acting as our appointees at will. I mean, if we weren't happy with the people that we put in here, I mean, and I'm just pointing out the individuals here, if this board decided, that we didn't want to go that way, we only wanted one of them, for example, the board should be able to have that flexibility.
Okay, you're looking for feedback. Kristen is saying no. I'm saying no.
Okay.
Sheila, sorry.
In a gallery. Sean, to your point, you still have Kim Farrer, who will be on the board for another year, who was very much aware of what was going on during certain negotiations at all times. She was well informed.
Okay.
So you do have a veteran person who will probably pick it up and was well informed.
Okay.
I'm just putting it out there.
Does that mean that Dr. Farrer is volunteering for that position?
I didn't say that. I'm just saying that she is well informed
Okay.
of all the CBAs.
I just always like to keep options on the table.
I understand.
And we also have counsel that will be continuing in the process in the same
Mhm.
capacity as well, so they will be informed and have that background information, so.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
About the committee work? Is there a DEIJ committee, and if so, when is that meeting?
Is there a DEI?
J committee, yep.
I don't know.
Thank you for asking that question. There has not yet been an established committee, but I would like to move forward with beginning the establishment of that committee.
Can you explain for all of us the DEIJ, because I don't always know.
Well, the J stands for justice in some cases, but diversity, inclusion.
Diversity, equity, inclusion.
Yes.
Justice.
Yes. I prefer, rather than the term inclusion, I prefer the term belonging, because inclusion implies that people don't belong already, and that we're making special exceptions to include people, and I believe everybody belongs to begin with, so.
So are you asking us to establish a board subcommittee on that after the election? Is that what you're looking for? We do
Yes.
not currently have a subcommittee on that.
Yes, we do
Well,
not.
maybe we can do away with facilities and establish that. The reason I say I want to do away with facilities, it's near and dear to my heart, actually, is because we now have a CIP committee, and really, the CIP committee is what we needed, not a facilities committee. So I see it as a redundancy. The board doesn't get involved in day-to-day operations of facilities. It only gets involved in what's the overarching plan for the district so that we can budget appropriately. Okay, so that's something that in the past, I don't know, Kat used to make a list of action items to send to your assistant so that you would know that there are things that need to be brought forward. So you can do that. Thanks. Thank you. You still do that? You still do that? Okay, great. So
Looking to bring it forward after the election.
yeah,
Great.
when all the committees change over. All right, great, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, administrators report.
Sure. It's been dramatically short, and thanks to Kaylee, so awesome. Keep up with those great reports. Maybe we should just touch base in between, and that way, I'm more than happy to have you do all of that. That's fantastic.
Is that what you were cutting out all that?
Yeah, delete. No, great stuff, honestly, Kaylee. Thank you very much. So I'm going to simplify right down to a topic of safety. One, again, apologizing for the late notice, but as Dr. Farah said, it was an unusual morning this morning. I can tell you, I went outside at 4:30, went out there again at 4:15, and, walked in the driveway in the streets, and it was just wet where I am in Atkinson. It was 35, 36 degrees. Marie Hill, who is the dispatcher for First Student, she, was driving in. She said everything was fine. She called me in a panic at about 6:40, saying we have, buses, accidents on the roads and buses going off the roads, especially on those hills. So please understand that, when the temperature is that close, that especially those elevated roadways, those roadways over water, they may be slippery. We are going to take extra precautions in looking at some of those secondary roads, but she was working with the highway departments. So, we recognize that we might need to be more cautious. And we just want, families to be aware of that, especially with, walking to and from bus stops. That's, something else to be considering when the temperature is like this. But another point of safety that I just wanted to talk about very briefly, and it's something that requires us to do some more work on our end and revisit the pickup and drop off, or I should say drop off then pickup, especially with regard to the high school and middle school. I know that a couple of years ago there was some information sent out where the plan was looked at and maybe redesigned as to how students were dropped off and picked up, especially again at the high school and middle school. But, I think Pollard is one too that we have to take another look at. A lot of this has been more difficult due to the fact that we are down to one crossing guard. And the complications are really, they're not at those schools where they're sort of, where they're contained to the school property. The high school and middle school, we have Reno Road, that is a public roadway. That's not something that we have authority over. However, I've been talking with Chief Kane. He's very supportive of trying to figure out ways of resolution. He tries to commit officers to being here to assist with some of the traffic difficulties that are happening. But as we all know, our police officers are also incredibly taxed, and when they need to go off to another call, that's something of an emergency, they need to go off to that emergency. We're continuing to try and fill the additional crossing guards, and that will help. But please, we'll do some work with revisiting the plan, looking at putting some other strategies in place, whether it's additional signage, whether it's something that we can do in concert with the police with regard to conducting traffic a little bit there. But please be aware, it is incredibly dangerous. People do go pretty fast on that road sometimes, and it's not just the students. So I'm asking, all parents, when you're dropping off, we realize that, people are in a hurry. We recognize that we've asked you to drop and pick up with the bus driver shortage, no question. We know that it is a pretty congested time on that road, but it is really very dangerous. And then you add things like, ice or anything like that. There are a lot of kids actually crossing that road. So I would just ask that, for patience, and, exercising a little bit of kindness along with that patience and just being cautious. We're all trying to do the same thing, get kids to school safely, get kids home safely, and we understand people are trying to get to work or to other responsibilities, but we're trying to work as efficiently, as effectively as possible, but we want to make sure that we're as safe as possible for everybody's sake. So, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Nope, I had a bunch about, entertainment at the park and athletics, and I think it's been covered. So I agree. Check out the website. There are great things happening. Performances happening, great athletic winter events. I went to the wrestling match last night. It was fantastic. So.
Chris, were you going to mention the pass system?
Oh, sure. Yes, thank you. Smart Pass. That's something that's, we're doing training on the 26th with the Professional Development Day. On the Professional Development Day, a number of the high school staff, or most of the high school staff, will be trained with Smart Pass. Smart Pass is a digital hall pass. And after the staff are trained, there'll be some training for the students. And what it does is it's a digital hall, it's an app that is able to log into a system when students request to leave a classroom, whether it's go to the bathroom, whatever it is, and that they are given that pass digitally, and it helps to record the amount of time that they are out of the classroom. There are some additional features that we're not going to employ yet, because you would need like a, I don't even know, sort of, how a fob would work. You can, or a swipe, where you could show up the passcode in or out of doors. We're not employing that yet. We just don't have the budget for that. But it is going to be something that we're going to be able to better track when students leave a classroom and how long they're gone from that classroom. I don't know specifically about the information that's put in with regard to the intent of where they're supposed to be going, but it's going to give us more information on being able to try and ensure, more safety for students in the hallways and in locations outside of their classrooms.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking and reminding me.
All right, moving on to the personnel report, we have one professional retirement. This retirement is Dana O'Gara, Director of Human Services, will retire at the end of this fiscal year. Looking for a motion to accept the retirement of Dana O'Gara. Sean makes the motion. Second. All in favor? 6-0, so that speaks to your earlier discussion about SAU positions. I think we should be posting that position almost immediately so that hopefully we have some overlap as we did last time we had a transfer of HR people.
Yes.
So that's great. And congratulations
Yes.
on your retirement, Ms. O'Gara. Okay. Committee reports. Katie? Sheila? Sean?
A public hearing last Thursday for the Budget Committee.
Yeah, public hearing for the Budget Committee last Thursday. On a personal note, I was very disappointed that not one member of the public showed up for a $75 million budget, but that's just my own. Amy? I have nothing?
Safety of meeting next week, so
Okay.
I have nothing
Safety
beyond that.
meetings next week. I had a question about deliberative session. It is February 10th. It will be here. We decided to move it from the gymnasium to the PAC for a couple of reasons. One, we have to rent a sound system for the gymnasium. Two, the gymnasium requires a lot of setup for chairs, and sometimes we have to rent chairs and so on and so forth. We just felt that our staff has got enough to do right now, and that with the number of people that we've seen turn out in the past several years, that we could manage it here in the PAC. So the ballot clerks will be outside and they will be checking people in. I don't know the logistics of how this will be split up, but I assume that there's going to be areas for voters, non-voters, mass, non-mass. So that is, the moderator runs this meeting, not the school board chair, so we'll be working in consultation with him through the superintendent's office. Anything else? Nothing for non-public, Mr. Kellum?
No.
Okay. If not, wow. Adjourning at 7:57. Thank you very much. Stay healthy, everyone.